When the glutes weaken, the body looks for alternative ways to perform basic movements. It begins to rely on muscles that were never meant for that function, such as the lower back, the hips, or even the knees. In the beginning, this seems to work fine. You keep walking, keep climbing stairs, keep living normally. But internally, every movement is being distributed incorrectly. Over time, this compensatory pattern creates a chain reaction. The lower back starts taking on more load than it should. The knees begin suffering repetitive impact. Balance becomes less precise, more dependent on vision and less dependent on true muscular strength. And this is exactly when many people begin to say, "I'm getting older," when, in reality, it's not age, it's the selective weakening of the most important muscles for body stability. This is why so many people start feeling pain without remembering any specific injury. The pain doesn't come from a big event. It comes from the accumulation of small, poorly distributed movements. It's not one moment that harms you. It's a pattern. And patterns only change when awareness changes. The good news is that this process is not irreversible. By reactivating and strengthening the glutes, the body gradually begins to let go of its compensations. It goes back to using the correct muscles at the correct time, and that reorganizes the entire mechanics of movement. It's as if the body breathes easier. Suddenly, getting up from a chair feels easier. Walking long distances feels less tiring. Balance improves to the point where you can change directions without losing stability. Small victories that, combined, represent something much greater: autonomy. And autonomy, after 50, is one of the greatest forms of wealth a person can have. Because strength is not about having big muscles. It's about being able to trust your own body. It's about knowing you can climb stairs without fear of tripping, get up from the floor without help, walk on uneven surfaces without risking a fall. That's why strengthening work begins with simple but extremely strategic movements. It doesn't matter if you've never trained before or if you already feel limitations. There are exercises that respect your body, strengthen without causing harm, and restore what you lost without noticing. And the first one is one of the most important for a simple reason: it replicates a movement you perform hundreds of times in real life. Exercise 1 is Step UPS, the real-life strength test. The first exercise is simple to understand but profound in its impact. It reveals, with almost surgical precision, how prepared your body is to handle real-life situations, the ones that don't ask for permission, don't give warnings, and don't have a pause button: stepping onto a curb, getting into a bus, climbing a staircase, stepping up onto a higher surface. These actions seem small, but they are silent tests of strength and coordination. Tests your body performs daily, often unnoticed, until the moment they fail. This is where step-ups become so important. They represent exactly what your body needs to remain independent: lifting your own body weight, with control, using one leg at a time. It sounds obvious, but most people, especially after age 50, spend years avoiding this type of movement, and when we repeatedly avoid something, we lose the ability to do it well. The result: unilateral strength loss, reduced balance, increased dependence on external support. And, in many cases, a higher risk of falls. Not because someone is old, but because their body stopped being exposed to the challenges that keep it strong. When a step-up is performed correctly, it intensely activates the glutes, especially the gluteus maximus, which provides most of the power for hip extension. It also recruits the gluteus medius, the muscle that prevents the hip from dropping sideways when you stand on one leg. This is the muscle that makes the difference between tripping and recovering your balance quickly. But the benefits don't stop there. This movement teaches the body how to organize strength, engage the glutes, stabilize the core, keep the knee aligned, push through the heel, all of that in a single repetition. This type of coordination, not just raw strength, is what protects older adults from falls in everyday life. Many adults notice something interesting when they begin practicing step-ups consistently. Climbing stairs, which once felt tiring or uncomfortable, suddenly becomes surprisingly easier. Not because they became athletes, but because the body relearned how to use muscles that had been asleep. Another important point: you don't need a high bench or excessive effort. For most people over 50, a simple surface 4 to 8 inches high is more than enough. The goal isn't height, it's control. Control going up. Control coming down. Control maintaining balance. Over time, and it doesn't take long, everyday tasks begin to require less effort. The body feels lighter. The hips become more stable. The movement becomes more natural. And this produces something no medication can provide: physical confidence. Confidence in your body changes the way you move through the world. You walk more steadily. Get into the car more safely. Climb stairs without hesitation. You don't depend as much on your hands for support. That is independence. That is quality of life. And it all begins with simple movements like this one. Exercise 2: Glute Kickbacks, the small movement that fixes a big problem. At first glance, the glute kickback looks too simple to matter. It's just lifting your leg backward, right? But that simplicity is misleading. Kickbacks are one of the most important exercises for people over 50, not because they're easy, but because they reactivate a movement pattern the body slowly loses over the years. Here is the truth almost no one explains: after 50, most people stop using their glutes to extend their hips and start using their lower back instead. This shift happens gradually, silently, until one day the person realizes they feel lower back pain when walking, standing, or getting up. And the most important part, it's not aging, it's compensation. When the glutes weaken, the body doesn't stop working. It adapts. And the lower back pays the price. The glute kickback wakes up the glute again by forcing it to work without letting the lower back steal the movement. This retrains the body to use the correct muscle, something essential for anyone over 50. Why is this exercise so critical after 50? Because over time, movement patterns reverse, the glutes work less. The lower back works too much. The hips lose stability. The gait becomes less efficient. The body begins to compensate, costing balance and safety. All of this leads to one outcome: pain, instability, and increased fall risk. When you perform the glute kickback correctly, neutral spine, core engaged, slow movement, something powerful happens: your brain relearns to fire the glute first. This neuromuscular re-education is more valuable than any weight, machine, or high repetition count. It improves your walking pattern. It stabilizes your hips. It reduces chronic pain. It restores confidence in every step. The most common mistake: arching the lower back. When the lower back takes over, you lose the benefits and reinforce the wrong pattern. You should feel glute burning, not back fatigue. To ensure this, keep the spine neutral. Engage the core. Reduce the range of motion if needed. Pause at the top for 1 to 2 seconds. That pause sends a message: use the glute, not the lower back. Results many people report after only a few weeks: less lower back pain, ability to walk longer without fatigue, a more stable hip feeling, fewer stumbles when turning or stepping sideways, climbing stairs with more stability. These improvements happen because kickbacks target the exact muscle responsible for safe, controlled walking: hip extension with control. You're not just lifting your leg backward. You're giving your body back the ability to support itself safely and efficiently. This exercise is small in movement, but massive in function. Of all the exercises someone over 50 can do to strengthen their body, the glute bridge is undoubtedly one of the most important and yet one of the most underestimated. The greatest irony is that it looks too easy to make a real difference. After all, you're lying down. You're not lifting weights, you're not running, you're not doing anything intense. But that is exactly where the power of this exercise lies. The glute bridge is not just a strength movement. It is a reconnection movement. It restores communication between the brain and the muscles that support nearly everything you do: standing, walking, getting out of bed, climbing stairs, protecting your spine, and maintaining balance. And here is the most impressive part: the glute bridge activates the glutes in a way most people haven't used in decades. Because when we sit too long or walk without strength, the glutes stop working properly. They become lazy. They shut down. And the body begins using muscles that were never meant to take that role, mainly the lower back and the hip flexors. The result? Back pain, stiff hips, rounded posture, difficulty standing up, and instability while walking. The glute bridge begins reversing all of this, slowly, repetition by repetition. Why is this exercise so transformative for people over 50? Because it works the foundation of your movement capacity, the glutes, your largest strength source, the core, your stabilizing center, the hips, the joints that keep you upright, and the spine, your structural protector. And it does all this with zero impact, zero load, no speed required, and no unnecessary risk. It's the exercise you can do even on painful days, even when you're tired, even when motivation is low. Because the goal is not intensity, it's consistency. It's muscle reactivation. It's giving your body back the ability to move with strength and control. The most common mistake is trying to lift too high and ending up using the lower back. When people try to go higher, they lose glute activation and overload the spine. The rule is simple: the top of the movement is not about height, it's about contraction. You should stop as soon as your torso aligns with your thighs. Nothing higher. What follows after that comes from glute pressure, not spinal curvature. When you squeeze the glutes for 2 to 3 seconds at the top, your body receives the correct message: this is the muscle that should be working. Over time, that message becomes dominant again and the spine is finally relieved. The benefits start early and continue growing: less back pain, more walking stability, easier transitions from sitting or lying down, less hip stiffness, more upright posture, more confidence climbing stairs, and better balance. That's why physical therapists consider the glute bridge one of the foundational exercises for aging with strength, safety, and independence. It restores a movement pattern the body should never have lost. Among all the silent signs of muscle weakening after 50, there is one most people don't notice until it's almost too late: the hips begin to lose stability. It's not sharp pain. It's not a sudden injury. It's something subtle. A slight wobble while walking. A knee that seems to fall inward. A strange lack of confidence when turning your body or changing direction. This happens because one extremely important muscle group, the lateral glutes, especially the gluteus medius, slowly weakens without making noise. And when this muscle loses strength, the entire body must compensate. The knee takes more pressure. The lower back works harder than it should. The gait becomes uneven. And the risk of falls increases silently. The seated band abduction exercise exists precisely to fix this failure that almost nobody notices. It looks simple: you sit, gently push your knees outward against a resistance band, hold briefly, and return. But this small movement trains one of the most important mechanisms for the body after 50, the ability to keep the pelvis stable while you move. When the gluteus medius is strong, the pelvis stays aligned. When it's weak, it collapses sideways with each step, what we call Trendelenburg, a very common pattern in aging. This pattern is one of the biggest causes of imbalance, tripping, and persistent hip and knee pain. Seated band abduction corrects this because it activates deep muscle fibers that walking, stretching, and even traditional gym exercises do not stimulate. It's a small movement, but an extremely intelligent one. It reteaches the body to stabilize. It strengthens something that fades slowly over time: lateral hip control. As you repeat this exercise, something remarkable happens. Your walking pattern changes. Your steps become firmer. Your pelvis sways less. Your knee stops collapsing inward. The feeling of instability begins to disappear. Many people over 50 often say, "It feels like my legs are finally holding me again." This isn't brute strength. It's alignment. It's stability. It's the body working the way it was meant to. And perhaps the greatest benefit of this exercise is its safety. It is performed seated. No impact. No exaggerated motion. No stress on the joints. It delivers physical therapy level results at home with small, precise, consistent movements. And it's that consistency that transforms walking, posture, and balance. Seated band abduction is not just a glute exercise. It is a protection exercise. It protects your knees. It protects your lower back. It protects your ability to walk safely. And most importantly, it protects your independence. Because when the hips are stable, the whole body becomes safer. Among all the exercises that can transform strength after age 50, there is one that is often underestimated, avoided, or even feared: the Bulgarian split squat. It looks complex. It looks advanced. It looks like a gym exercise. But when properly adapted, it becomes one of the most complete, intelligent, and therapeutic movements for the aging body, especially for those who want to protect their knees, hips, and balance. Think about how the human body functions in daily life. You never stand with both feet perfectly stable on the ground at the same time. Walking is a unilateral movement. Climbing stairs is unilateral. Stepping off a curb is unilateral. Recovering from a stumble is unilateral. That means your real strength, the strength that determines whether you walk safely, rise from a chair without pain, or stay upright after losing balance, depends on how well each leg can work on its own, with control, stability, and efficiency. That is exactly what the Bulgarian split squat trains. It requires one leg to do the primary work while the other assists only with balance. This deeply activates the glutes, corrects asymmetries, improves posture, strengthens the core, and dramatically increases hip stability. Each repetition teaches the body to align itself, balance itself, and move more safely. And for people over 50, this is pure gold. When you perform this movement, the body awakens muscles that have been asleep, deep fibers of the gluteus medius, pelvic stabilizers, muscles responsible for keeping the knee aligned and the hips symmetrical. These muscles are not activated by walking. They are not activated by stretching. They are not activated by gym machines. They activate when the body is challenged functionally, and few things are as functional as the Bulgarian split squat. As you practice this movement, something powerful happens: instability disappears. The knee stops collapsing inward. The lower back stops compensating. The pelvis becomes more stable. Your steps become more confident. Many people report, "It feels like my legs are finally working together the way they should." And that feeling is priceless because it means safety, independence, autonomy. Now, it's important to say this: the Bulgarian split squat does not need to be deep, does not need to be heavy, does not need to look perfect. It only needs to be controlled. Controlled means respecting your range of motion. Controlled means using hand support, a wall, a chair, whatever is necessary. Controlled means keeping your torso upright and your weight on the front heel. Even with few repetitions, the movement teaches the body to strengthen what truly matters. This exercise also naturally stretches the back hip, reducing stiffness and improving posture while walking. And that stretch alone already changes how comfortable your body feels throughout the day. The Bulgarian split squat is, above all, a re-education movement. It teaches the body how to align, how to generate force without pain, how to distribute weight properly, how to trust its own legs again. It is intense, yes, but it is transformational. And for those over 50, transforming the body doesn't mean training harder. It means training smarter. When you strengthen the glutes unilaterally, you strengthen what truly keeps you standing. You reduce fall risk. You reduce pain risk. You build real strength, the strength that follows you into real life.